Hey everybody, my name is Tazariah Wolffe, and I'm here to help you navigate the entertainment industry along with my dear friend Elliott Graber. We're about to take you on another adventure of the Artist Journey podcast. That one.
That's awesome. I would be recording it the whole time. Let's just hit record here. Oh my god. It's like, Elliott, why were you recording this whole conversation? It's behind the scenes footage.
BTS.
Yeah.
BTS.
I record it in advance so that you get the most natural reaction out of the guests.
Yeah. Oh, I could tell that was completely intent.
All right. Hey guys, Elliott Graber here, and with me today is my guest and my good friend Tazariah Wolffe. And Taz is not only a fantastic entertainer of all kinds, he's a producer, a director, he is a manager, and he's just an overall Renaissance type of man.
Thank you. Yeah, it is truly an honor to be here. I love the idea of Elliott putting together this podcast and sharing with the world what it takes to endeavor in the creative process. So the blessings are all on me.
So Taz, you've had quite a story, quite a life, maybe 30 lives in one life.
Yeah, the adventures have been quite consistent. I always joke that considering my life experience, I should probably know a lot more than I do, or be in a different place than I am, because anybody else who'd gone through all the experience I have been would probably be, on a higher mountaintop than me. But I absolutely have no regrets. It's been a great life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's because we first met a few years ago, and we were on the same project at the Minneapolis St. Paul Hotel, at the airport. At the airport, and. Yeah. What was the name of the project?
It was called. It was a pilot for HBO called Mogadishu, Minnesota.
Yes, and I was there kicking it, wasting time because we were waiting to go inside, and you know how the airports always have pianos laying around, and naturally I just gravitated to go play it, and lo and behold, this guy comes by and says, "Hey, that's decent."
It's good stuff. You're downplaying your talents. It was pretty phenomenal, and you happen to be putting together a couple new pieces, and you were practicing them and showing them off, and one of the things I've learned over the years is you can never stop looking for good talent and good art, and you never know where you're going to discover it. And so I was busy getting ready for the scene that we were about to shoot, and I had a little time to kill while the techs were doing their thing. And I heard this melodic sound coming from off in the distance, and I was like, is that like a staff member of the airport playing the piano?
Yeah.
Part of me was like, am I going to have to shut this guy down while we're shooting? Why is someone playing the piano? Because I got to work on this down. And so I wandered over there, and the music was just really, really spectacular, and I instantly thought to myself, a composer. Because I asked you, is this one of your original pieces? Because I'd never heard it. Like, yeah, this is something I was working on. And I thought, man, it'd be really nice to have a composer in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because I've done work on commercials, and sometimes you got to create original music, and I'd rather inspire an artist to chase, their journey than to go buy some, canned service and buy, download some background music. I'd much rather encourage an artist and say, hey, let's get your work on this project. And it excites them, and it gives me an opportunity to create a new relationship with them. And clearly you had talent, so I was like, nah, I'm not letting this guy get by. And so, I
haven't been able to escape ever since.
You've been in my pocket ever since.
Well, and same goes to you. I'm just so honored that you are willing to talk, and then also just like are just getting to know each other through the years. And I guess as of a year or two ago, we kind of started working together more in like the music realm, as well as the film world. So it's been fun to see your input. What do you prefer going into any sort of project? Do you prefer a certain type of role that you can play, or?
Well, that's a good question. I think that as I've gotten further down the line, a few more, gray hairs here and there, and wrinkles by the eyes, I've learned that it's best for me to try and take control on certain levels. I was a producer for a long time, and I've learned that I really love directing because whether it's as assistant director or straight creative director, because I like to see things get done. If you walk down the street and you stop anybody on the street and you say, "Hey, what do you like? Do you like movies? Do you like TV?" Of course, they're going to say yes. And what kind of TV do you like? "Oh, I like reality shows." In fact, in the next conversation, the next beat in the conversation will be, "In fact, I have this great idea for a reality show," or "I have this great idea for a movie," or whatever it is they're into.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody does.
Yeah.
The difference is taking it from that and turning it into an actual show, or a commercial, or a documentary, or a short film, or an independent film, or write a script and try and sell it to the studio. Most people have no clue, even people in the industry have no clue what it takes to make that happen. And my life experiences has allowed me to learn every step of the way. So it isn't that I have this desire to have an ego and say, "Oh, it's got to be my way." It's more of me actually wanting to support the artist and say, "Let's take your brilliant creation and get it in the machine so it can become what it is you're trying to make it become." And invariably, ultimately, it never works out exactly the way that it is, or the way they envision, because of the creative process, and it's always a collaboration and whatnot. But people tend to, once they get involved, realize, wow, there's a lot more to this. And it's very complicated, and it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes effort, and it takes people. And that's where I come in. And that's why I like taking the reins whenever possible. Not for any sort of control, but because I want to see across the finish line. I quote my dad a lot because he's definitely one of my heroes. But he always said, what's more important, to start strong or to finish strong? Well, starting doesn't matter really at all. It's how you finish. A good start can make it easier to finish, but it's all about the quality of the finish. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a project and I never crossed the final, goal line.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's nobody's fault. People get on different projects, people run out of money. There could be a million reasons why something doesn't happen. And so you have to make the most out of the time while you're going through the process, because you never know when something crazy is going to happen, like a pandemic.
Yeah.
Or or your lead actress who's agreeing to do this project for peanuts or for free suddenly gets the job of a lifetime for pay. She's out,
right? And
you can't blame her.
No, yeah.
So you have to be aggressive and know what steps to take, when and where and how. So
I've noticed that about you, that you're really good at many different variables of the arts, but just basically managing different situations. I've worked with you personally in a commercial studio sort of situation when we did the Bailey commercial, and we've worked, Michelob Light, I think, was another one that we did together.
Yep.
But then you're also a fantastic independent artist where you want to dig your hands deeper into independent scripts. You've done everything from reality TV to feature to indie short to, and you're an award-winning Emmy producer, which is, makes me a little like I need to step up my game here a little bit.
It was luck. It was being with the right people at the right time. And when we found out that was, we actually didn't even go to the event, because we didn't get the invitation for whatever reason, lost in the mail or some sort of confusion about an address.
Really?
So it wasn't until the world knew it before we knew it. 2 weeks. You get the phone like, "Oh, by the way, you need to come up here, pick up your Emmy."
Yeah.
Pick up our what?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'll have one of those, please.
Exactly.
I'll have what he's having.
Exactly. So you just, and to me that's the secret, isn't it? Now, people are driven by all kinds of different things.
Mm-hmm.
People are driven by the almighty dollar, and I have no problem with that. It's one of the things that make our country great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
People are driven by fame. They don't want to be an actor. They don't want to be a producer. They don't want to be a director. They want to be a famous actor. They want to be a famous director. They want to be a famous producer.
Well, sure.
I'm not that way. I'm driven by the story. I'm driven by the people. I'm driven by the art. And I've always subscribed to the idea that if you take care of those things, that all that other stuff will take care of itself.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, that works. Now, it's not as simple as a catchphrase. In fact, I'm working on writing a book about the 5 stages of production. Because one of the things I've learned is that I don't care if you're producing a children's kindergarten pageant about the early days of this country, some sort of red, white, and blue songs with little kids dressed up like George Washington or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're making, a $500 million movie for, the Marvel Universe. The 5 steps that are a part of production are universal. And they apply to both things. And what I found is that if you can understand each step, and I'll tell you what they are, there's development, pre-production, production, post-production, and distribution. And everything that you're going to do, whether you're, when you're recording something or putting on some sort of artistic story in any capacity, you're going to go through those 5 steps. So if you can identify them and you can do the things in order on a certain level, your product's going to be much better. Your art's going to be much better, and you have a lot more fun. Now the reality is people don't necessarily know where one begins and another one ends. And they'll be in, let's say, production, and what happens is they're like, oh crap, we didn't do this. We didn't take care of that. When we were in pre-pro, we probably should have taken care of this. But here we are on set, the crew's around us, the cast is around us, and we haven't made this decision. So let's make it really quick on the fly.
Yeah.
And the more you have to work on the fly, and people will try and tell you that, I shoot on the fly. I'm just on the fly. Well, all that tells me is that you don't like to do the legwork on the front end.
Yeah.
And each stage will build on the next. And the more successful you are in development, the easier pre-production will be. The more successful and thorough you are in pre-production, the easier and more fun production will be for everyone.
Yeah.
And same for post. If you hit all the beats in production, then post is like a breeze, and it makes it so much more enjoyable to sit back and watch creative genius editors do their job when they're happy, and you set them up for success.
Yeah.
To get to that stage, of course, then you have a beautiful final project, and the people involved in distribution are like, I can't wait to show this with the world because everyone's going to love it, and everyone's going to see it, and everyone's going to make a bunch of money.
Yeah. Everyone wins.
Exactly, and that all starts in doing development thoroughly, doing pre-production thoroughly, doing et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I've learned over the years.
Yeah, I love that. We've talked briefly about the 5 stages, and in my experience too, it seems like whether it was consciously or subconsciously, as a producer, you have to go through those steps, and it's how effectively can you get through each step. And I think the importance of doing the steps in order that way, it's you're setting the next group of people up for success, right? You're setting your talent up for success, your crew, the cast, and then your editors and your client at the end of the day, if you're working for a client, right? Because they're looking for a very specific representation of their company. And that's where a lot of like storyboards and things go in. As an actor, I get a lot of storyboards, and I get a lot of just scripts or sides. That's the first thing you get sent from your agent. So they're like, learn this, memorize it, and they want you to see the visual so you can get a sense of what that client needs or wants for the product.
Right, and all that is done what you're talking about is done in pre-production.
In pre-production.
Yeah, that's people always say, well, where does one stop and the other start?
Yeah.
And it's important, I always say that you should know very clearly like if you have to make a decision and you're in one stage and you've already passed a certain stage where that decision should have been made, at least try to have the understanding for your own knowledge and growth. Okay, I'm making a pre-production decision, or I'm making a development decision, but I'm in production. You know, and at least recognize this should have been made before, because, and not to scold yourself or feel guilty because you forgot it or missed it earlier on, but so you can be in the mindset of development when you make a development decision. You know, and so you're not necessarily just trying to band-aid it in the moment in production, but you're stopping for a second and putting your development hat on, if you will, and really thinking, how is this decision going to affect the story? You know, instead of just, oh, we got to quickly solve this. Because when you do that, you quickly rush through it, you don't take a minute to think it through, it's just a much greater likelihood that you're totally screwing your post-production team. So even if it's not the right stage, understand the decision you're making and why. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So development, because I guess when I think of development, I think of putting the product together, right? Like if it's a musical composition, putting the notes on the page, or scoring it out.
Writing is development.
And that is part of the development. So for you, in your experience, how does development set you up for the pre-production, and what does that look like?
Well, development's the imagination. You know, the best way to think about it is, well, an easy way to think about it is, when does it go from development to pre-production? When money's involved. You know, when somebody other than a bunch of buddies with an idea, or one writer writes a script, all writing, all development of the story, all the imagining, you know, when you go into a network or a production company, or if you're, you know, super connected directly to a studio and you're pitching a concept, that's a development stage. But once it becomes real and people are committed and they've said to you, okay, we are going to make this, all right, that's when it goes from development to pre-production. I personally think that pre-production they're all equal in importance by far, but pre-production is the hardest, and it will dictate for me the most success from there out. But you know, development, you know, is it's got its challenges, because you don't want to, for example, if you know that you have a finite set of money and you're going to make this little independent projects with your buddies on the weekends, you're not going to have, you know, elaborate stunts or car chases or whatever. So you have to write to your project and create to your project. But short of that, you have all of the creative freedom that you can possibly imagine in that stage of the process. So it's very exciting.
Very.
You know, and it's tricky because these 5 stages don't apply to painting, for example, or, you know, sculpture, or, you know, these are only for live performances. So like when you write a song, I would argue that these 5 stages don't apply. But when you go through the process of performing a song, they do. So it's only when there's that movement, you know, moving pictures or moving on the stage, you know, or the music actually happening in a live capacity, then those 5 stages apply.
Interesting.
So straight up art to be embraced and you know, absorbed without any interaction of any kind, the 5 steps aren't there.
Do you, and I'm thinking more now along the lines of like independent film, independent music, it seems to me, having worked in the indie world, and you've worked in the indie world, do you feel like for a lot of independent artists out there that it's really challenging to get from the development stage into the pre-production stage? Because I feel like a lot of artists in general are so creative and are good at getting the products made out there. I mean, you know, putting the pieces together. But now we have a product and we don't have any budget for it, right? To go into pre-production. And oftentimes you have to take what you have and showcase it, or try to get somebody on board who believes in you or believes in that product enough to get it into pre-production.
Right.
I'm sure, you know, when you were working with the reality TV shows in LA and some of those higher, you know, tiers of budgets, that's maybe not as much of a concern, but then oftentimes it seems like the development wasn't done, that they just rushed right into pre-production. So, you know, how would you, as a producer, as a director who's created independent film, you know, what would your advice be to young artists that are developing works and need to, you know, find a way to get that up and going?
That's you're good at this. You're asking good questions.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's going to sound cheesy, but it's universally true. You got to believe in the art.
Yeah.
What I said earlier holds true. You know, if you take care of the art and you take care of the people and you give it your best effort, then that kind of stuff will fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
It does help a lot if you are a man or a woman of your word. It does help that you, and it goes back to what I was saying again earlier, that you're going to see it through the end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, people know that I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this to the finish line. I think that people love the process. Yeah. They love a good story. They want to be a part of the process. They want to be a part of the story. They want to be surrounded by good, positive people. Mm-hmm. So if you do have all those things, and then you give a finished product,
cherry on top,
people are going to be like, yeah, I was a part of that.
Yeah.
We worked on a trailer for a project we were hoping to get funded.
Yeah.
And I've shared that final product with everybody who's part of it. Mm. And boy, howdy, as soon as they saw the final version, they relived all the fun of the shoot. And that shoot was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
I mean, it was
a lot of fun.
You know, I hope that movie gets funded. I hope that movie gets made. And I hope we all get to be a part of it. Mm. But at the end of the day, just the trailer was such a blast. And everybody, and we all made it fun. The director, I was the assistant director on that project, the DP, everybody who was involved. We worked our tails off for the, you know, those 3 days. But we had so much fun, and now there's something to show. And every time anybody shows it and shares it with somebody in their life, even just like the little lower end PAs or whatever, they saw that version of it and they're sharing it out with the world, and the response that they get from all their friends, well, where can I see the movie? They don't even know the movie's not made yet.
Oh, listen, my dad texted me. He's like, where can I see this?
Exactly.
Oh, you can't see it. It's not made yet.
Exactly. And you know what? I told all my people, I said, you know, when people ask that, you simply say, well, it's, you know, the world of indie films. You know, and it's just the way it works. Not even sure when it's going to get released. Yeah. Don't even bother telling them that it's not made yet. So go check out the website. If you want to support the film, it's all the information's there. You know, but they had something to show at the end.
Yeah.
You know, it's too often times the projects don't get all the way through. So I think the secret to what you're talking about is believe in it and say to yourself, gosh darn it, come hell or high water, I'm going to make this. Mm-hmm. And it might suck. It might suck bad. But
you finished it.
But you finished it.
Yeah.
You know, and guess what? Mm-hmm. The next one's going to be better. You know, I think it's way more important. You don't if it sucks so bad that you don't want anybody to see it, don't let anybody see it. You know, stick it in your back pocket and then go make another one.
Yeah.
And then go make, and I don't care if it's a trailer, I don't care if it's a indie, I don't care if it's a short, a documentary, a pilot for a TV show that you believe in, you know, and make it and stick it in your pocket and then go make 10 more. And I promise you when that 10th one is made, it's going to be solid.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like, oh, you think this is good? You want to see my obnoxious, terrible beginnings? And then you'll show them that, and they'll be like, this is terrible, and you've come so far. You're such an amazing artist.
And then those terrible beginnings become like the cult classics.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
That like your fans and the people who love your style.
Exactly.
You know, like Coen Brothers made Fargo on like an old school like 33 millimeter, I think. And that's like the very beginnings of their work, and that's, I mean, it looks fantastic, but you know, it was on a budget.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but think of what they're producing now, and you look back at that, you're like, holy cow.
Right.
You know, but I love it because I love them. You know.
Exactly. You know, I've got a very dear friend. He's a hell of a director and director of photography. His name's John Heller, and his first film, he did everything. It's a full feature. It still blows my mind. Now, granted, I've watched it, and you know, hopefully, maybe you'll have him on your podcast, and and I'll let him tell stories. It's a terrible movie, and I'm saying that because I'm not even going to mention the name of it.
Yeah.
But
it's so bad. We're not going to.
I mean, but he takes pride in how bad it is.
Really? Yeah.
But I'll tell you this: I was just getting to know John, and I watched it, and I could look past the fact that it's not a very good movie, and there's a lot of problems with it. But I saw his vision as a DP, as a director of photography, and I was like, I don't care that this guy, you know, screwed up the sound and was working with amateur actors and, you know, this, that, and the other. Oh, and by the way, that movie is on Amazon Prime. Anybody in the world can watch it. And he wrote it, he shot it, he mixed it, he colorized it, he edited it, he directed it, he produced it, he, you know, certainly was the DP, he was the assistant director, he was the set medic, he was the craft service, he cooked all the meals. I mean, he did from beginning to end, and he got it past the finish line, and that's, to me, that's what it takes, you know. And people get caught up in image and professionalism. I work with a lot of independent filmmakers who are kind of weekend warrior types, and they have a day job. And then I know people who are phenomenal directors and producers of commercials. They run production companies here in the Twin Cities, and they're highly successful, and they win Emmys and things like that. And you know, and it's these two different worlds. And the commercial people get a little jealous because the filmmakers get to make movies. But the filmmakers are a little jealous because the commercial people are making a living at it, and they got to go do a day, you know, and the filmmakers got to go do a day job. But at the end of the day, if you said which one did you rather be, I'd much rather be with the filmmakers than have a day job. Ideally, I'd like to be a filmmaker and not have to have a day job.
Yeah, but you know, to get paid for your movies.
Exactly. You know, or make them. You know, and independents make some money. Yeah, it's tough to live on. But because I've talked to those people, and here's the secret to it: the producers of the commercials, the directors, and all of the crew that work commercials, they're stuck. Because they can't go back and make a bad movie. Because it'll affect their commercial business. So as good as they are making a little, we'll call it a 30-second movie, and tell some really awesome story, they feel like, okay, I have no experience making movies. I got into this business because I wanted to make movies, but I got married, or I had to pay for my college or whatever, and I needed more income, and the money was in commercial. But now they're stuck there, because if they go and make low budget indie, they almost have to do it under a fake name because it's going to detract from their commercial image.
They get pigeonholed.
Yes.
And you see this all the time in the entertainment world. It's like, for me, this is the hardest thing from an acting standpoint, because I've done, as you know, a lot of commercial industrial type work here in the Twin Cities, which is how we make our money for the most part in this market. And there is the underground indie artists that are creating that, you know, these awesome new projects. And I've always been the type of person that I wanted to explore different avenues of entertainment. But oftentimes that can come back to haunt you, because then it's like you put something out there that's a little bit like, maybe it's got content that is, you know, like more foul language, or there's violence, or, you know, sexual content involved, or whatever the thing is, right? And so now, how is that going to be perceived to the corporate world, right? And how is because it's all image.
There's an artist inside all of us. If you want to learn the steps to have that artist come out, check out The Artist's Journey. get the inside track of what it's really like and how to make the artist inside of you come on out. Now may be the best time ever to be in the entertainment business, because in the new entertainment industry, the artist is finally the one in charge. This podcast is designed to keep you up to date with the changes in the business and to give you the mindset, tools, and resources that you need to succeed. Check out The Artist's Journey with your host, Elliott Graber.
I'm talking from an actor standpoint.
Right.
But I think it's often the harder route, but the more daring route. And I think that as artists, and I speak to you as an artist, you're a fellow artist, because I think there are people that in the entertainment industry that aren't artists. They are good at what they do, and more power to them. But I think to be an artist, you have to kind of play in your own sandbox, so to speak. And you kind of have to do it for the love of the art form, as opposed to, what the paycheck is going to be at the end of the day.
Right, and to me, you're absolutely right. For me, it is all about the sandbox.
Yeah.
And it's all about the art. And those are the people I gravitate toward. You just have to do it for whatever motivates you. What motivates me is the story. What motivates me is the people. What motivates me is the human connection. And I played in those very, very, very corporate image is everything worlds. And I did all right.
Yeah.
I did real nice for myself. And I know how to go back and do that. And, we all have our daily responsibilities, and I find a way to meet those in any way that I can. And whenever possible, I chase my art. My goal is to spend as many days as possible between now and the time I leave this little blue marble on set. Or doing things like this, creating. Because I understand that's who I am. At my core, I'm an artist. I've had the fortune of performing on stage. I've had the fortune of doing stand-up. I've had the fortune of being in front of the camera, and then finding my real joy behind the camera and what that means. It's taken me a long time to learn, because I was a producer and just a producer for a long time. Now I realize I'm more of a director. And that, it's funny, life taught me that, not the art. We all have our own little funky journeys. But I'm always looking for opportunities to create. And I try to get involved the people in my world so they can too. But that's not just because I'm wanting to give to them. It's not truly just altruistic. It feeds me, because the best creative is collaborative. As a producer, as a director, you always want to have the authority, so it's not a socialist state on set. The buck has to stop with you, but you have to be open to the creative process to everybody, so there can be some collaboration, because you never know where those little brilliant ideas are going to come from. I call it the beach ball theory. Have you ever heard that?
No.
So if you have 100 people on the beach, right, and you throw up a giant beach ball up into the air, let's say, and while it's above everybody, you can stop it, and you say to the group on the left, okay, what color is the beach ball? They're going to say it's blue, because the beach ball has the different colored stripes all around. These guys over here are going to say it's red, and these guys right underneath it are going to say it's green. And you know what? They are all correct. But in the name of the group acting cohesively, somebody's got to say, while I know that you are all correct, as a cohesive group, we need to all agree and move forward from the perspective that the beach ball is red. That's what a director does. That's what a producer does.
I see.
It's like, I want to acknowledge the fact that you see it as blue, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm respecting your perspective. But you need to trust me as the leader of this group. And if you don't like that, then go lead your own group. Go get under your own beach ball.
Right, because there has to be a leader of some sort to say, exactly what you were saying. That's the great thing about art too. You can get different perspectives depending on how many varieties of people you have involved in your project.
Right.
And oftentimes that's the hard thing too, as a leader, as a director or producer, where you have to the buck has to stop with you, because it's like, I see what you're saying and I'm going to take that into account to try to make it the best product it can be, if you truly want it for the art form of making the product the best it can be. But that being said, when there are too many ideas being thrown out on the table, you can really lose focus and sight of what your vision is as a creative director for that project.
Right, and it can get bogged down very, very fast.
Yeah.
And when the more you give somebody, that voice, the more they feel like they have a voice, and it gets louder and louder and louder. So you got to know how to manage that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to stifle it.
Yeah.
You want to be aware of it and have it on your radar. Creativity comes from anywhere. I'm like, my beard, I'm going to go in a weird direction conversationally here. But this beard is a COVID beard.
Yeah.
I couldn't shave. I couldn't get my hair cut early on in the pandemic when we were on the stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
And my son, who's 18, and I decided, let's grow our hair out. Let's see what it looks like. And I started growing my beard. And my daughters said to me, Dad, grow your beard out. Let it grow long.
Yeah.
And my beard and my hair is longer than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's weird to me when I look in the mirror, because it's very different than what I'm used to. But what I know is that it inspires their creativity, because they can go up to me and say, hey, Dad, let's do this. Just see what happens. And I want to foster that in anybody, especially my own children. I got 2 pierced ears in each ear. Thank you to one of my daughters, because she was getting pierced ears, and Dad, why don't you do this with me? Okay, I'm on board. And I don't necessarily care what the rest of the world thinks, because I'm inspiring the creative process. And that's who I am.
Cool dad. You're being a cool dad.
Well, I'm not trying. They'll tell you if I'm cool or not. They'll probably tell you I'm not. But that's the way I want to live, is that I'm always lifting up the encouragement of being creative, of being honest, of being loving, and seeing what beautiful stories can be told. Because, whether I die with millions of dollars to leave to my children, or I die a pauper, or whatever it is, that really isn't what they're going to carry with them. It's the stories and the connections that we make. I think about the men and women in my life, and who are no longer around. Like my grandfather and my father, and my first theatrical director, who was like a second mom to me. And I can tell you a million stories about them. I don't know much about what their bank account was like, and I don't know, what insurance company they used, or any of these things. But man, I got a lot of great stories, and that's what we carry with us. So I want to leave as many of those behind as I possibly can. Whether it's a conversational story, or whether it's a story in the form of a movie or a TV show or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't have to necessarily be my story. I just want them to have good stories. The next generation, or my peers, or whatever. People, like you were saying, which I think is a really valid point, that you have to worry, I'm making this dramatic piece now, and I'm making this low budget, silly, Monty Python-esque film here, and then I'm gonna make a horror movie next. Yeah. Is this gonna affect me getting a commercial job? And that's honest and that's real. It's also very, very sad, because you're the storyteller. And actors in particular, I see you guys as paintbrushes or paint, and I need you to perform to the specifications that I, as the director, the guy moving the paint across the canvas, is going to be. I don't want my paintbrush pulling me way over here, saying, we got to use purple over there, Now maybe I'll take my paintbrush and dab it and be like, wow, that's really cool, because I didn't clean my brush enough, and there's a little gray in there with the purple, and it creates something new, or whatever. Yeah. And that's the collaboration between actor and director.
You're talking about your experience with me? Where's my trailer? I'm not coming on set.
Taz, I like what you were doing there, but I think you should do it this way.
Listen, I know you have a vision or whatever, but I think my way is the best way, because I'm an actor.
Yeah, well...
Because every actor has an opinion.
And for those of you out there who are listening to this and wondering, in Elliott's last project that I had, my project that I had Elliott on, he was naked in the woods in wooden stocks.
Oh shit, that's right. I keep forgetting about that. I must have blocked that out.
He actually wasn't naked, but on film it looks like he's naked.
Yeah, and I had a bit of a flesh wound.
So, you know, don't let this guy fool you. He's really good at doing what he's told as an actor.
That's always the catch-22 as an actor. I feel like, because it's, you know, you get so used to like taking direction, and then well, and this is what I appreciate about your direction style. It's like you're going to give just enough direction, but you want to let the actor emote and breathe at the same time. And every actor is different, so it's like some actors might need a little bit more encouragement or direction and like focus of what it is the director wants specifically. But I think if it really boils down to the trust and the relationship between the director and the actor or the artist, because if that trust is there, you both are going to be kind of on the same wavelength. And I feel like with you and I, that's what I appreciate about working with you so much, is that you have this wonderful catalog and experience of many different types of roles you've had to fit in. You've been on, you know, every side of the board, and yet you still don't have the ego coming into a project, and you're willing to allow the talent to just emote how they would
Right.
naturally.
Well, again, because it's all... Okay, so when I work with actors, there's a couple of things I like to throw at them right away. Mm-hmm. I'll just tell you a quick story. My son is in this... he's in college, and he wants to be a director like his dad. Poor kid. And
he doesn't even know what's happening.
Exactly.
It's coming.
And he was talking to this class, and he was throwing out different tidbits, and the teacher was sort of picking up, okay, this kid knows a little bit more than just some kid out of high school. He's been around the business his whole life, my son has.
Yeah.
And so long story short, I ended up asking to sit in on the class and give some notes from a casting director's perspective, which is something else I've done. And because these actors are taking this class for the camera in the hopes of becoming actors for money.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I asked them, I said, what's the most important characteristic of an actor? And I throw this out to almost every actor I meet when I start working with them. And they all had this pat answer of like, being honest with the role. Oh yeah, that's it, being honest with the role. Being honest with the role. And I was like, great answer, but no. I said, the most important characteristic, in my opinion, of what an actor can do to be good at their craft is to observe the world around them. I said, because if you know what's going on, you know how to either act or react to it. And do it in such a strong, natural way that it will be believable. And that's the job of an actor. Now, the little answer that they all gave was the answer that the teacher gave them the first day of class. And then, so they thought they were like saying exactly what the teacher wanted them to be. And I had no idea. Like, nope, that's not it at all. It's got nothing to do with it. So,
wrong!
So needless to say, the teacher hasn't asked me back.
Well, the teacher was probably, you know, maybe not in the industry as much as...
Yeah, well, he was more of a straight theater guy.
Oh, sure.
And so I appreciate that. But,
I respect that.
you know, but to me, that's what I think. I think anybody could react to an explosion, let's say. Oh my gosh, there's an explosion.
Yeah.
But reacting to the person is, you know, and when I'm on set working with an actor, that tends to be my biggest note, is you act and you do this in a specific way, because it's not about you. You got to set up your next actor to react to what you're saying. So if you say something dramatic or funny, but you kind of throw it away, then it would be weird for me to react to it. So you got to give me your best, so then the other actor can give you his or her best back to you, and it can go back and forth. So it's really all about the reaction. You know, there's this great Red Stripe commercial. Red Stripe beer, I think, came out. It's a long time ago. Sometimes I date myself, but
was it Jamaican man?
It was the Jamaican man, and it was the Jamaican man, and he was like in the kind of the morning suit tux.
Yeah.
And I was involved in casting in that.
Really?
And we had 60 young men come in, and the joke, you can look it up on YouTube. Just do Red Stripe ads, and it'll come up, and a young man says, the Jamaican guy says, what's in you? Very, very thick Jamaican accent. Hey man, tell us what's inside of you. And the line for the straight, nerdy looking white guy was, I don't know. And that's all the line was. Okay?
Yeah.
And then he gives him a red stripe, and the guy drinks it, and then we cut back to the Jamaican guy, and then we cut back to the guy, and now he's turned into a Jamaican old woman. Because it's the idea that once the red stripe gets in him, he becomes this other woman.
Okay, sure.
Well, we had like 60 guys come in, and I heard every version of I don't know that you can imagine. And then finally, like, he was late in the process. This guy walks in and he read the line, and then we fed him the line, and he goes, That's all he said. He just shrugged his shoulder, goes, oh. He got the part. Because it was so real, it was so natural, and he was reacting to the question. He wasn't acting. It was like, I don't know, and all these, and people trying to be obsessed with the line. This guy was just reacting to my question. It's like, what's in you? He got the part.
Interesting.
And that's why he got the part, because it was natural, it was a real reaction, and it was so honest.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is something that takes a lot of practice and training, because it's like, I think oftentimes, unless you're in the world of acting or in the world of entertainment and have some experience with this is how I feel as an actor. You have to do exactly what you just said. I have to listen, first of all. Well, first of all, I have to know my lines. But don't know them too much that you're over-rehearsed. So like for me, if I get a script and I'm coming in for an audition, I go over it a few times, just enough to make sure I know it, and maybe I'll try to do it on the road while I'm driving to the audition, memorize, just try to but even if it's not exactly word for word verbatim, doing exactly what you say, where you have to just listen, because in that moment, if you're not listening to your director, if you're not listening to your co-actor, how are you going to react naturally? If I go, what? All of a sudden, it's a natural reaction. Mm-hmm. But it's like, you can't anticipate it coming.
Right.
And part of that too, I think theatrically, this is challenging, because you rehearse with this other person over and over and over again. You do the same lines over and over and over again. And then comes performance time. You still have to find ways to disengage the brain that says, I know what the next line is.
And how do you do that? What I said first. Observe. You have to observe the world around you. Mm-hmm. You have to be aware of what's going on every subtle level. Every good actor is really Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was my favorite when I was a kid. Still is today. I love every version of Sherlock Holmes. It's the Cumberbatch version, the American elementary TV. I watch them all. The Robert Downey Jr. version.
Oh, I love
that. Because he doesn't miss anything.
Yeah.
And he understands. Enola Holmes, the new one on Netflix. Check it out. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
Good.
It's solid. It's such a great story for young girls and boys and grown men like me. It's an all-around solid story. I'm always hesitant when they feel like they have to make something to make it more inclusive for people, because it can be very pandering.
Sure.
This one's not. This one's done very, very well. Mm-hmm. But anyways, my point is that if you know what's going on, you know how to react. I'm going to challenge you with something, though. As an actor, learn all the lines. Mm-hmm. Learn them perfectly. Mm-hmm. Learn them so well that you don't have to think about them. Mm-hmm. Because on some level, once they're subconscious to you, then you can observe at a greater level.
Yeah.
And it takes real work. Mm-hmm. But you have to surpass it. See, I found in this part of the country, and again, this is going to be super hypercritical, and it might go a little bit against all the other things I've said so far.
Just tear it down, burn it down, Taz.
With guys, most guys do what you do on sets, on independent films, and they kind of fly fast and loose with the lines because they want to be in the moment, and I respect that.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, women actors around in this part, and there's always exceptions, and I'm not stereotyping everybody, but women tend to learn their lines really, really well, but then they're chained to them. Okay? I submit and challenge anyone within the sound of my voice, and you included. You got to do both of those things to get to that sort of nirvana level.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm admittedly a Shakespeare snob, okay? Because if you're going to do Shakespeare, you can only do it at the level that I'm talking about, because you got to have all the words perfectly. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So you got to know it word for word.
That is true, yeah.
And yet,
stylized language like that.
And yet nobody gave the actors more to react to in an interpersonal level than Shakespeare. And that's why it works. Because you get the words down, you embrace them so completely and fully that they are natural. Because you're never going to be able to act and react to them until you can put them away. And you have to put so much work into the language and into the lines that you can't circumvent them. But if you're so, like the women, so the guys wouldn't even have a chance in the dynamic you were talking about.
Sure, yeah.
But then you get those women that are so locked into the words that their acting doesn't have a prayer.
I see.
So you have to take it to the next level. And that's why Shakespeare almost always, if not always, works. And that ultimately is what I'm shooting for from my actors. Because that's when real storytelling can just be so natural. It's almost, I describe it like Michael Jordan or, Kevin Durant or whatever, or even like, baseball player, football player, when they're so in the zone that it's like it just comes easy because they've practiced it so much and they've done it so much and and they have so much skill and they've dedicated. They get to this almost euphoric place where I just throw the ball up and it just falls in every time without trying. And it doesn't happen all the time. Some games are a struggle. Some games are really, really difficult, or things aren't going their way. But they get those moments and they get those games where they're like, it was the easiest, greatest thing ever. And you'll get there if you attack the role like that.
Yeah.
And you put in all that work.
Preparation is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what did I say before? Pre-pro is the most important stage. That's where the rehearsals are.
Yeah.
So,
And it's so evident too when you go to a performance. Like if you ever go to a live theatrical show, I just feel in live, because in film you can kind of go back, try it again, do a different take. You can cut and paste the pieces that work and that don't. But if you're in a live show with an actor that hasn't done the work in advance, it's night and day difference. And if one actor does and the other doesn't, it's night and day difference. And that's annoying for me because you're doing a disservice to your co-actor. If this person's putting in all the work and they are in it, but you're not giving anything back, you're not emoting, you're not listening. There's an interesting saying that a friend told me once that if we listen to reply, it doesn't mean the same as listening to understand.
Right, exactly. And that night and day difference in theater, it's actually more frustrating for me in a filming dynamic. Because when it's just the two of you on stage and you're rehearsing and one person's doing all the work, and let's say there's not a live audience yet, but they're doing all the work, and you're rehearsing and the director's there and it's frustrating and you're like, this person's only going to get so far and I got to carry them through the scene forever. That affects the three of you. When you're on set, it affects everybody on set. And we got to do 20 takes and
right,
or 30 takes or whatever it is. And it's like, dude, it's a whole different kind of pressure. And when time is money on set, I worked on a film one time where, and again, I tried really hard not to name drop.
Sure.
Exactly. But this particular film was a high budget project.
Yeah.
All right. And I was early on in my career.
Yeah.
And
just an early award-winning Emmy producer.
No. This is a major motion picture, and I was PA. All right. But I was talking to the coordinator of the PAs, and and this is quite a while ago. And he said $10,000. Said, and everybody, a group of us, like, what's $10,000? $10,000. It costs this production company $10,000 a minute to have all these people here. $10,000 a minute. So If you are a PA on this location and you're not doing your job, maybe that 1 minute of the day, you're the key person for everybody who's here because you have to block the crowd or you have to do this one specific task.
Yeah.
And maybe you're going to be working a 14-hour day today, and you don't know when that minute's going to come. So you better dang be ready when that minute comes. Because if you aren't there and you're not doing your exact job for that 1 minute, you're costing $10,000 to this production company. So you can't say, oh, I'm sorry, I was taking a leak, or oh, I'm sorry, I was distracted. For that 1 minute, you're the most important person on this set. And that's what's great about a set. Everybody who's there has a job. And at some point, you doing that job is a key element to making that day happen. So, and oftentimes it's not just 1 minute, it's oftentimes many minutes or chunks of time. So if you do your thing, you can't be, oh, okay, well, it's not on me anymore. No, you need to be thinking of when I need to be ready for when it's on me again. I need to be dialed in, I need to be mentally focused, I need to be fully committed, because I might get another minute or a half hour or whatever. And I don't care if you're wardrobe or makeup or even, craft service. I can't tell you how many projects I've been on where good craft service, ready when we needed it to be, makes such a huge difference.
Big difference.
Keep people so happy and so felt loved and supported and lifted up. Catering, permits, I don't care. If you're on my set, you are so valuable to me. So give me your very best every single minute you're there. Don't ever hold my production up because you're off doing whatever, texting your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is. So.
Oftentimes I try not to even bring my phone on set because it's a distraction, and also it's like it looks bad,
Right.
And that's the tough thing too. It's like, because sometimes you, in the actor's world, I don't know if it's that way in the production world, that you have to be checking your emails regularly, often, a few times a day, or sometimes even my agents all just text me because they know I don't check my emails. So they're like, Elliott, did you see the email? I'm like, so I gotta check the email. But oftentimes you're on set for 14 hours a day, if it's a long day, 6 to 14, sometimes 10 to 12 if you're lucky, right?
Right.
And you're just hanging out, and you have to be aware of that.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to The Artist's Journey. My name is Tazariah Wolffe, and I have gotten the pleasure to sit in for this week's episode. The Artist's Journey is a collection of interviews that feature independent artists discussing their craft, navigating the entertainment industry, and reflecting on the value of the artists in our world today. If you like the podcast, subscribe and leave a comment. It would mean the world to Elliott. We thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.